right. Branch manager at Envoy Mortgage, James Beaver. In business, James is known for three things: his genuine interest in providing his clients with exceptional service, his unrelenting work ethic and honesty, and an almost inexplicable commitment to wearing vest around the office. Door-to-door selling semi-fresh produce that he acquired from his mother's refrigerator may have been James's first job, but it was the mortgage business that ultimately became his career. While most young boys dream of one day becoming a loan originator, this was not the case for James. After graduating with a BBA from the University of Texas Gig-a-Maggies and spending a few years working in the technology sector, James was encouraged by his wife, then fiance Brenna, to find gainful employment in her hometown of Houston.
That's right.
And now in 2001, mortgage companies were hiring, and James needed a job, and it was a great match.
Perfect.
Welcome to the closing table, James Beaver. You've been to a few closing tables in your life?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a general name, but we use it, the real estate kind of.
I love
fun.
it.
Cool.
It's a great name.
Welcome. I cannot believe door-to-door selling produce. So first start us off with that. Tell me.
Yeah, no, it was, I was bored.
How old were you in this time?
I believe I was 7.
Okay.
And I got a wagon and a cooler and snuck into the kitchen and grabbed all the produce out of the refrigerator and went door to door trying to sell it all.
And did Mama Beaver know this with us?
My profit margins were through the roof. I think I just unplugged this thing.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Can you hear yourself?
Nope.
Okay.
There we go. I'm back.
Did Mama Beaver know about that you were stealing her produce?
She found out fairly quickly
when dinner was coming, and
I think I may have.
Where's my tomatoes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember getting in trouble. I think they maybe appreciated the hustle, but they weren't planning on it.
And that's when started your salesman career.
What
was your first sales of produce? I mean, I've heard of lots of stories of like people taking things from their house, their family, and then going and selling them. But produce was not. Was there a lack of produce? And where were you at? Where was this in Houston?
This was in Dallas.
Dallas, okay.
This was in Dallas, yeah.
Was there a lack of produce at the time? Was there high demand for lettuce?
You don't need there to be a lot of demand, just enough. Like one person needs to buy that head of lettuce. And if you go long enough, you'll find somebody looking for lettuce.
So tell me, like you're knocking on doors?
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, do you need any lettuce or tomatoes or?
I was peddling my wares, yeah.
What other produce did you have?
Some apples, some oranges. I think there was a couple of bananas maybe.
And I guess if they're like, you know what, I have to run to the store and this guy's selling it to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a no-brainer.
So that career, how long did that last?
That was just a one-day. That was a one-day gig, Ryan.
Okay, got it. So that's where you started sales. And then, all right, so tell us a little about where you grew up. What were all the pathway to get you into the mortgage industry?
Great. So I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. And we moved we moved to Texas when I was 6. Moved to, thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Moved to Dallas, South Dallas.
What city?
Oak Cliff.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. I was in Dallas this past weekend, but I don't remember.
Oak Cliff is old school Dallas, buddy. And so we lived there for, I think 4 years, and then moved out to the suburbs. So I grew up in, I would say most of my formative years were in the mid-cities in Dallas-Fort Worth, and ended up in Austin, and after I went to UT.
Okay, not the rents. You went.
What's that?
Not the parents went.
Right.
Just you.
As a young adult, that's correct. I moved to Austin.
So you got into UT.
Yep.
So was that how did you get into UT? Was it a SAT thing, or was it a...
So I had a little bit of a journey, Ryan.
I'm curious.
Yeah, I started out going to a small school up in Tennessee, Rhodes College, great school.
Okay.
And
never heard of it.
Yeah, great school. Had a lot of fun. It was a good time. Got to play a little soccer up there and made some good friends. And then I decided I wanted to transfer, but I had missed all the transfer deadlines to UT. So I had to wait for a year to get in, and just thought, you know what, I'm going to knock out some credits. So I spent a year at the community college just knocking out stuff. And then back then it wasn't quite as rigorous to get into the University of Texas.
Is that like, because at A&M, went to A&M, ours is blend.
Yep.
To get into A&M, what is your...
So Austin Community College.
That's where you went. You went to Rhodes, then to Austin.
I went to Tarrant County College, and then I went to Austin Community College.
And then in UT as a...
Well, I lost a bunch of hours to the transferring.
Sure, yes.
I think I was technically, I think I was a sophomore.
Got it. Okay.
But I was a junior in terms of
length of time,
experience and wisdom.
Got
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And how was football team then?
Pretty good.
That was Vince Young. No, that was a little before that.
I was there for Ricky.
Ricky. Oh,
yeah.
Ricky Williams.
Chris Sims, Major Applewhite, that whole thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was some good.
Yeah, because wait, because Chris Sims
Priest Holmes.
Applewhite was the starting quarterback, and Sims was behind him. I can't remember the order because there was a controversy.
Well, there was some controversy there. So I remember the first game Applewhite went in. We had this other guy who was a senior quarterback. I think he broke his hand or something, and then they run Major out there onto the field, and he looked like a fifth grader. Like his helmet was wobbling around, and we were all like, "Oh, my, this is going to be a rough day."
Yeah.
But he like rallied the team, and then everybody was on the Major bandwagon.
And that he took Sims' place.
Sims wasn't there yet.
Oh, got it. And then he came in, rallied, did a good job, and then Sims came in, and they're like,
I think that's right. I think that's how it went down.
Okay.
That's how I remember.
I do remember that about the same time. And Ricky
Yeah.
Williams, I remember that he went to the Dolphins right after that.
No, the Saints.
Saints, you're right. Okay. And
Yeah.
then he went to the Dolphins, and
Yeah.
then he decided, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy my life rather than play football.
Yeah, he's into yoga and stuff.
So cool. UT, went to UT, and then out of UT, what was the career path to get to where you're at today?
Yeah, so I was actually going to go work for Young Life.
Right.
And just before graduating, I learned that they were not going to be able to bring me on board due to some financial constraints that were being experienced at the time.
Got it.
And so I was like, well, I got to figure something else out here. I just waited tables for a few months while I interviewed and ended up getting a job at Dell.
And you were at Austin at the time?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So worked at Dell, and that was quite an experience. Learned a ton.
Selling computers?
Yeah.
Like how did you sell computers at Dell? Did you like call people?
So back then,
because I think about what is that show? Oh my gosh! And the guy had them in his basement, and he was selling computers. Oh my goodness! You don't remember the show?
That's not far off.
I mean, it was like it was Seinfeld. It was when George's dad had. Did you watch Seinfeld?
Back in the day, yeah.
And he like had the physical computers, and like. It wasn't drop shipment or anything. It was like he had a physical computer. He would just like cold call people to sell him a computer. It was like when computers just came out. And that's what I picture when you sell a computer.
I need to go watch that.
Yes. So you're selling computers.
Yeah. So I was selling computers, and the way it would work back then was this is like what Dell was known for, was you could custom build your computer.
Okay.
Right. So I started out in home sales, which meant that just anybody out there that needed to buy, a computer for Tommy to go off to junior high with or whatever, they would call in, and there was like a big call queue, and we were all sitting there answering the phones and trying to customize computers for people. That was not an enjoyable job.
Got it.
But I learned a lot. And then I moved into the business sales side, and that was when you're dealing more with it could be somebody just with their own little business, or it could be a bigger company, and you're kind of looking for opportunities to help them buy a bunch of servers or whatever.
Got it. So, by the way, I once worked when I was in Lynchburg, Virginia, my freshman year job. I worked for J. Crew.
Nice.
And I was a telemarketer.
Okay.
Didn't really see much of the clothes, although I did do one little photo shoot for him, by the way.
Well, I could believe that.
That was what they just took the people that were sitting there. I was a telemarketer, the difference was you didn't call people asking, "Hey, can I sell you some J. Crew clothes?" They just called you. It was like the catalog.
Oh, really?
And I think that was back like really before online took over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was the weirdest calls. You'd get people be like, "Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I'm between like a 6 and a 12. How do you think my butt would look in this?" And like, I am on the phone with you. I have no idea who you are. Just tell me the size and I'll make the order. Like, does anybody today is there any place you call and make an order over the phone for like clothing? It's all online. Like
it's all online. I buy all my clothing mail order.
That's right. Lands End. I think you can do it there. Or LL Bean.
My wife just bought me a couple of Lands End shirts.
And
they're like $20
online.
I think so.
LL Bean. Remember, it used to be like, I mean, it was the shiz. Like it was like that was like the most quality you could get.
So did you get good discounts at J. Crew?
You did. You got I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I might have signed a confidentiality agreement 20 years ago, so I don't know if I should say it. It was like 40% off.
Really?
For J. Crew, but that was like off their like retail, their J. Crew outlet. Oh, but here's one thing. We're getting too into this story, but one day they would do a sale one time per year.
Okay.
And they would bring all the returns in.
Nice.
And they just lay them across the deal, and it was like 80% off. And we were in a college town, so like you had to go pick a number, but you'd go get like a basket full of clothes, like just pack, and it'd be like $29. You're like, so like half our school had like, this is before I went to A&M, half our school had like, everybody wore J. Crew because of that deal. All right, anyway.
Just makes sense.
You did the Dell thing.
Yep.
What was next up? Were you dating Brenna at this time?
Yeah, we were dating.
And she was like, man, I'm dating that Dell salesman.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
The future was bright, Ryan, obviously.
Yes.
So we, my headset, there we go. So we, she got her master's in accounting and got her CPA and had a fantastic job. Not in Austin. It was back in Houston.
Okay. That's where she's from?
Yeah, she grew up here. So anyway, she really wanted to be in Houston, and I really wanted to get married. And, I wasn't like in love with selling computers.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't your end all be all.
It didn't feel like it was going to be a long-term fit.
Got it.
So, anyways, I was trying like crazy though to find jobs in the technology sector because that's kind of what I knew.
Yeah.
But the timing wasn't great because it was the middle of the dot-com bust. Like I was lucky to have a job at all.
Right.
So many people were getting laid off. That was 2001.
That's right. Okay.
So yeah, I remember coming to work with the news trucks out front because it was a big layoff day, and it was tough. So anyways, I was young and I didn't know much, and the whole industry was going through a lot of turmoil, obviously. So I could not find a job. I didn't know anybody in Houston, so I had no connections or anything. So anyways, finally I was like, you know what? This wedding is getting close and I just need to get a job.
Yeah.
And so threw a resume out there. Recruiters for a mortgage company called me, and
boom. 100% commission job?
Yeah.
So when you took that job and you were like, because that was the same thing when I actually went into real estate, it was like I was either going to do commercial real estate, which was my number one choice, and then wealth management or insurance. Last choice was residential, just mainly because of the stereotypes and all that stuff. Yeah. And I just didn't. I mean, it's like I knew too many knucklehead realtors, so it was like, that's what I pictured it as. I didn't realize, wow, you jump in and you do a good job, you actually can look way better than all the other people.
Yeah.
But it was like Lauren was pregnant with Rebecca, and I was like 6 months and counting. She's like, all right, she's due in like 6 months. I got to go make some money.
Yep.
And every industry was like, yeah, it's probably going to be about a year before you get a check. I was like, yep, that's not going to work for me.
It's not the solution.
So was it like that, or what was it? Did they give you a little draw? Did they help you out a little bit financially?
I think that I feel like there was a very low base associated with that first gig I had.
Okay.
But
Brenna was working at the time.
Brenna was gainfully employed.
She was sugar mama.
And I was employed.
Got it.
And no, I remember. So the office that I worked at was down right next to NASA, and my brother worked at NASA.
And where were you living at the time?
I was living right over near downtown. I was that's
a 40-minute drive, but opposite traffic.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. So I remember it was probably about 10:30 in the morning on my first day in the mortgage business, and I called my brother at NASA and said, hey, you want to meet for lunch? And so we went and had lunch, and I told him, this job's not going to work.
The mortgage job?
Yeah, I was like, this is terrible.
Why?
I got there, and I could tell this is a really bad gig. I got snowed.
Because of the company or because?
Yeah. So that's the whole thing, right? So I started out, and literally by the end of the first day, I went home and basically just started calling everybody I knew to see if I could find a new job. And it was.
But what's the difference? What was the difference of that compared with what you do now?
Yeah, well, so it just it felt super cringy, as my kids like to say. They
were doing like shady loans.
Yeah. So it turned out they were one of the, if not the largest subprime lender. Oh, Lord. And I didn't know what that was.
Right.
So I was there for, I think 2.5, 3.5 months.
So like all your clientele were like the people that were on The Big Short.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, it was crazy.
I'm here to apply for my fourth home.
Yeah, this company is no longer in existence. And it just felt like,
surprise.
yeah. And so I started kind of like paying attention to what was going on, and I was like tracking things, and I realized that there's a lot of weird stuff.
When was that at, by the way? It was 2001, you said.
That was 01. Yeah, that was a fall of 01. And anyways, I just, through calling around and trying to find other jobs, what I started to recognize was that there are some pretty sharp people in the mortgage industry that seem to like their jobs.
Right.
And a family friend told me to take some tests and stuff to figure out what I might be good at. And, mortgage lending actually turned out to be one of the things that popped up as being something I might enjoy. And I was fortunate enough to get connected to another company that I fell in with and loved it.
Yeah.
And had a great time. So.
And then you had success.
Well, it wasn't quite that quickly, but eventually, yeah.
Got it.
So.
What, all right, so talk about the growth of you going from like starting off brand new, and there's a lot, I mean, whether it's real estate or mortgage,
Yeah.
Mainly commission-based jobs. You start out brand new. What were the like keys that brought you to, I mean, you're overseeing multiple LOs now. I mean, how many LOs are you overseeing now?
It's in the high teens.
Yeah. So yeah. And you're doing a little bit of production yourself.
Yep.
But what were the like key attributes that really helped you get to that? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great question because it's kind of changed a little bit over time, right?
Sure.
But
But back then,
I think the first thing I needed to do was to figure out a process.
right.
Like I'm kind of a process guy. If I don't have a process for how I do almost everything,
Right.
then I just kind of fumble around with it. So I had to develop my own kind of workflow and process
Yeah.
for doing things. Once I did that, I found that I got more efficient and it got a little easier. I think another thing that I had to learn was, just like with your work, at the end of the day, if things go poorly, it's on you in some way to fix it.
Right.
And so I had to learn where those pitfalls would tend to come up in transactions and try to get proactive in the way that
Sure.
I would address those.
I like that.
Yeah. And
Because I mean, in real estate, it's very similar. Like there's spots where this is where things, if they're going to blow up, tend to blow up.
yeah.
Or not, I mean, blow up, but I mean, like have a high level of stress or whatever.
Right.
And you've got to be like, all right, here's how you set that up well. So it doesn't.
Yep.
Got it. So you did that.
Yeah. And then I had to learn to play nice with others. I mean,
What do you mean by that?
I was always like a friendly,
Yeah.
guy, but I get pretty amped up at work back then. And
Got
so
it.
if I got stressed out because the situation wasn't going like the way I should, or I thought it should,
Yeah.
I'd go storming down the hall and get up in somebody's business. And I was a little bit of a wrecking ball, to be honest.
Got it.
So I'm thankful that people.
Really? I cannot see you as that.
Oh man, I get a little intense sometimes when it's.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You never get intense with me.
Well,
I feel like you're like peace and harmony as far as a lender goes. I've worked with a lot of lenders, and it's like sometimes you're calling them and it's just like they're automatically defensive. Not
Oh, yeah.
like, hey, let me help you out. They're like, well, that's, we didn't get this till then. We didn't do this till then. And
yeah. That's
and they're coming across like defensive, which is like, I mean, I could never do that with my clients.
no. I for me, it's more like if something in house happens that's not going the way it's supposed to, or somebody's, I don't really have this problem very much anymore now, actually. But back then, because I didn't know what I was doing,
Yeah.
I'd have stuff blowing up around me, and I'm like, whose fault is this? We got to fix this, and we'd get it fixed, but I was a little stressful to be around.
So then you went to that, you did well. And then how did you get the most of your business when you first started?
Well, that was back in the early days of internet lending.
Got it. Okay.
Actually. So I worked for a company that was buying tons and tons of leads from LendingTree,
Sure.
and it was all refinances.
Got it.
And so and we didn't have licensing back then. So I was doing loans for people in Florida to Hawaii
Okay.
to, it was just all over the country. And that was interesting because not only do you not know how to get transactions done, but like every state has different
Oh, I bet.
things.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I started out. And then being new to Houston, I eventually started to develop kind of a group of friends and people I knew, and I would start getting referrals. And so that's when I realized, like, man, this is way more fun than refinancing some guy in Chattanooga,
That you don't know.
Right. Yeah. So
Hey, you think, I mean, because for me, my career was the same way. As like I started off doing internet leads because that's what I had to do. And then now I do 98% of what I do is people I know.
right.
I mean, do most people head that direction? I would think so. I mean, I think there's still people out there that like, they just get up and grind and just do. I mean, they actually sometimes like and I think we're a lot like that. Like I would rather work with someone who I enjoy being around with,
Right.
and hanging out, and I can usually balance the difference between personal and business, and like, meaning like, you never mix business with pleasure type of thing. Like
Yep.
I don't have a hard time doing that.
Right.
Because, and part of it, like I'm service. I have what I have. I'm gonna do my best. I mean, if the business plan doesn't work out, or the plan we had set for like selling our house or whatever, but I feel like that's so much, like, why wouldn't anyone go that direction of like, but there are people that's not their thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not that guy.
Yeah, me either.
That's not the way I want. It's tough. I mean, I have a ton of respect for people that grind it out like that, but it's not what pushes my buttons.
And I can do it. I have agents on my team that do it, and they do it well. I really don't know if I know one person though that's like, man, I just love getting calls from people I don't know who have bad email addresses. But like, you got to do what you got to do. You got to start somewhere. The crazy part is though, when I started my business, those people who I didn't know, and this is what I've really tried to help our agents and our team understand, is like, hey, there is someone on the other side of that.
Yep.
That is a person.
Yep.
That they're looking for a home. They probably don't even know if they can afford it, but they're looking. The hard part is like, you just got to go through a million steps to figure out who they are, if, and get to the point where they're like willing to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not easy.
No. So are there any other things you would say helped you become more successful?
I think a certain curiosity and desire to learn is definitely something that's helped over the years. And I think, I mentioned this earlier, but just enough humility to say, hey, I need help. Like I think that I wasted a lot of time by not seeking out coaching.
Got it.
As early as I should have found a coach earlier. That's something that I feel like has been a big difference in my business for the last decade, really.
Yeah.
And I think for a long time, I just kind of thought, well, I mean, smart guy, went to a good business school. I'm working really hard. I'm not an idiot.
Right.
I can figure this out. And then you kind of get to a point where you realize, like, man, there's a lot of people doing way better than I am that I think I could learn. I've got something to learn. So
sure,
that was a big deal.
Well, it was interesting too, outside of the real estate industry. And I know you've been involved with the different couple, and obviously I'm involved with Tom Ferry coaching and all that. Since but 10 months into my career, I have been in coaching the entire time. And actually prior to even getting real estate, I was in life coaching, which was,
you're way smarter guy than me. You wasted no time. That's perfect.
No, I did. No, it's just because I had kind of done it before I got into real estate, and I was like, okay, this has been very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Ended up with a really great wife. I got, good kids. I'm heading in
someone's uploading loan documents right now, so my stuff's beeping at me every 10 seconds. I'm sorry.
You're good. But it obviously it put me on the right path in a sense of, but a lot of people outside of real estate, when I say the word coaching, they're like, coaching? What is coaching?
Yeah.
Which really it's consulting, but
right,
a little bit more like into your whole life, not just whatever. So you say coaching's been super.
Yeah, it's been very helpful.
Are you still doing coaching now?
I am.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And is that how? Because you're at a different level now too. Is it just like next level, always pushing you to think to the next level?
I think that it's more like for me, I've kind of realized like, hey, I need to sharpen up in this area. So I need to go find a coach that's good at this kind of thing.
Got
and then after a little while, you're like, well, now I need to learn more about this other thing over here. And so I think finding different kinds of coaches over the years has been beneficial for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's the biggest, what would you say, like the biggest, like the thing in coaching that you've gained the most from? Like what, was there one particular year or time period that was like, man, I'm so glad I was in coaching during that time?
That's a good question. I think 2013 was kind of a crazy year for me, personally and professionally. And that was the year actually that I really started getting into a pretty much more intense focused coaching program. And I think what I needed during that time was a lot of structure for my days and a lot of accountability to stay focused because I had a lot of distractions going on.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to, I don't know if this is healthy from a long-term standpoint, but at least in the short term, I kind of was able to compartmentalize some of the stuff I was struggling with and just really focus on the structure, the plan, the blocking and tackling of my work that I needed to do. And so that's a year that was not fun. I wouldn't want to go back to 2013. But that was a year that I really benefited from it.
Got it. It's funny because for me, I have clients who I coach, and most of them, the majority of them are a little bit younger than me, newer in the industry. I would say if there was one thing that they do not, they underestimate the importance of, it is their daily schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them are they're just so reactive. Whatever's coming in my day, they take it.
Yep.
They're I'm all right, well, you need to be, prospecting a certain amount of time every single day. I'm there's no 1.5 hours, but they will let any potential distraction come in the middle of that. And
Absolutely.
I'm look, I am the least organized. I look organized on paper, but in my head, I'm really not organized. But if I can just structure my day, I have learned that does so much more.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting. Okay. Real quick, by the way, drink of choice. We do that every episode.
Yeah.
I've got to say your drink of choice that you have chosen today is one of the boringest ones I've ever seen, but I'm going to take it anyway. He chose water, and we can't even put the label on the water, but I'm just going to drink room temperature water, and I usually give a review.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to review water, but I'm going to do it. Here we go.
It's tasty and delicious, isn't it?
All right, here we go. It has been cooled a little bit. I'm going to try to get my mindset of why I want water right now.
Yeah. It's good for you, Ryan.
So
it's hot outside.
I normally just give a general rating. I'm going to give a rating for choice selection, which will be a 1.
Yeah.
And for taste, today, at this exact moment, I would give it a 6. It was
so above average water.
Above average water.
Well, I'll try some then.
Dasani's always been my favorite water. I don't make any money from Dasani, by the way, but it always feels like it's got a little bit of sugar in it.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well,
but it's
I know what I'm getting when I stop.
But it's 100% water. I'm okay. I taste this and I taste that and I taste a hair of sugar in there. It's not 100%.
Just a little sweet goodness.
All right. Here's a question. Lots of people this has been an extremely volatile market in the last 3-4 months.
Yeah.
Especially stock market in general. Feds are raising rates. Interest rates go from all-time lows to, in the last decade, 20 years maybe, all-time high in the last just 10 years probably, right? 6%. Yeah. That's probably, in the last 10 years, wouldn't that be highest rate? Yeah. So
it's up there.
Lots of up and downs. Tell us, well, let me ask you this first question. When we were at, let's see, I think it was January, we were probably in the low 3s still.
Yeah, that's about right.
And you probably could have maybe scoured around and found a 2.8, 2.9% 30-year fix. What was the one thing that went boom and it felt like overnight? I woke up the next day and it was like 4.5, and then I wake up the next day, it's like, oh, it's going to potentially be 5. And I remember all the analysts at the beginning of 2022 were like, we may see rates hit 4.5 at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, I was one of those guys.
Yes. And I was quoting you too, by the way. So if I was wrong, blame it on James Beaver. But what was it? Obviously inflation's going crazy, but we saw that inflation's going crazy. But what just made it go, okay, just went nuts. It felt like really, really, really quick.
Yeah, it did. And I think, and I'm not an expert by any means, but I think the biggest things were inflation. It was coming in hotter than people expected. And then the war in Ukraine, I think, when that was ratcheting up, we were definitely seeing some volatility with the rates, and I think obviously that's a terrible situation, and there's so many repercussions economically from that we're seeing now,
right?
And so I think that's really what it was. You start hearing about gas prices going up. You started hearing about appreciation of homes. There's all these things, and it just kind of all snowballed around, and it just created an environment where, inflation is the enemy of bonds, and bonds are what mortgage rates are tied to typically. So we just, the more you hear about inflation, the more likely you're to be seeing mortgage rates go up, and we've been hearing about nothing but inflation for the last 6 months.
That's kind of what I've been telling people is like, how do I know when it's going down? I go, when you see inflation starting to cool off a little bit, you probably should see mortgage rates start. What was it? So when they go up, obviously it cooled off as they, as the feds are raising the rate.
Yep.
And they're looking at housing too. And I remember there was a quote by Powell that he was basically saying, I want buyers to reset their perspective on buying a home now. Mm-hmm. Which I guess that was him trying to cool off the market too, which he's done a pretty good job of it. Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Mission accomplished.
Yes. I mean, it's like, it hasn't completely cooled off. I think it's just like, I did a little video a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I think it's been in working with sellers and buyers. I think sellers have gotten spoiled for the last 2 years, extremely spoiled, where they could kind of get whatever they wanted.
Yep.
People were doing crazy things, waiving appraisals, whatever. And I think buyers got spoiled at the same point of like, you just saw all-time low interest rates that we probably may never see again. Do you think we'll see them that low again? Down to 2.9?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Not anytime soon.
What do you think the lowest we'll get in the next 3 years will be?
I mean, I can see us get into the fours.
Okay. Like low fours.
I'll go on record and say low to mid fours.
Because I remember January said we might see mid fours by the end of the year.
I'm out of here.
I'm kidding. But just FYI, you are not the only one. Like every single mortgage person said the exact same thing. That's what I'm saying. Like nobody was expecting that.
Right.
And I've actually heard some mortgage guys say we could potentially see sevens by the end of the year. Do you see that too as well?
I'm not going to get on the 7 handle, but I have also heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what would it take for that to happen? Inflation go to like 11%, and they just can't get a hold of it.
Yeah, I think it's a situation where they just can't seem to tame it down, and that's one of the things we're watching very closely what the Fed does, and I think we've got to get under control before we see the rates kind of calm down.
And you've been through .com, you've been through the housing crisis, 7, whatever. And now COVID and this.
Yeah.
Would you say this though has still been the most volatile?
Oh no,
you wouldn't say it.
Well, I mean, like, okay, it is the most volatile from the standpoint simply of
ups and
how
downs.
quickly the rates have gone up.
Right.
Like, I don't think, to my knowledge, no one's ever seen that.
Right. I know in 2007 the home price depreciation was the most dramatic.
Yeah. So,
what were the rates then, by the way, when they had that when the bubble popped?
I would have to go. I mean, they were probably. I think they were in the 5s.
Yeah,
something like that. So we. I'm just trying to think. No, I mean, as far as we definitely haven't seen a jump up like we have seen this year. But in just volatility in general, I feel like the first handful of months that COVID was really going on was pretty bananas. Like, I mean, you think about it, like everyone was like around the world was just sent home.
Yeah. I remember, dude, I remember coming home and it was like when, hey, we're not doing showings anymore. And telling Lauren going, I'm going to have to get another job because I have no idea what's happening. And then how do you go from that to like, it's been the best 2 years in the business?
It was nuts. I remember one of the, because I'm one of the oldest people in my office, and I remember somebody was asking me, like, it was just like the very beginning of COVID. Yeah. And she was saying, "Hey James, is this the scariest, most volatile, time you've seen in the industry?" And this was the very beginning. I was like, "No, the financial crisis was way worse."
Right.
Because you're like, the whole banking system is crumbling around us. But then a few weeks later, I was like, "No, I'm going to correct my statement," because that was nuts. And I told everybody in my office, like, just shovel as many of these refinances in as you can, because I think we got probably like 75, 90 days.
And because they dropped immediately.
Well, because remember, no one's going to go look at houses and walk through houses and stuff, just like what you're saying.
Right.
And I told everybody, just get as many of these refis in as you can, and then save your money, because it's going to be a long drought, I think. And then the opposite happened. Yeah. To your point, it was like, so I'm really not an expert. You shouldn't talk to me.
No, but I mean, but nobody. I don't think anybody expected that. So, where do you see the next 2 to 3 years? what's going to be happening with the mortgage industry. I mean, from what I can tell, from the sources I have as far as like home prices, purely based on the fact that there's just not enough supply still. I mean, I think Houston came out at the end of June and said 2.0 months of inventory, which basically still means we're in a seller's market.
Yeah.
Again, I think sellers are just spoiled and they're expecting, homes to sell in 2 days
Yeah.
with waived appraisals and $50K over list price and whatever. But when you don't have enough supply, prices should stay where they're at. But what do you think from a mortgage industry standpoint? What do you think is going to be happening with rates and affordability and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, I think those are real issues. I think that I agree with you. I don't think that the supply issues are going away. Our inventory issues are not a simple fix. It's not like a little bit of a cool down is going to fix everything.
Right.
So I think we've got a handful of years probably where we're going to be talking about inventory issues. But as far as the mortgage side of things, no, I don't know. I think we're going to see a lot of companies trying to find ways to get creative from the standpoint of product offerings.
Yeah.
I know we're going through that right now and looking at releasing some stuff that probably was a product that we would have, originated a couple decades ago, right? And they're kind of coming back. So I think you'll see some shifts in product. I think affordability is a real issue, and I think that it's going to be an interesting path that we navigate through, but we'll get through it. I think you're going to see a lot of mortgage companies consolidating. I think you're going to see a lot of mortgage companies probably shutting doors.
Well, I saw a lot of them. I mean, a lot of them who just brought on so many people for the refinance side of it. They're laying off half their people just because there's no refinances going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There are a lot of companies who have, over the last few years, done 85-95% of their business has been refinances.
Yeah.
Well, if there are no more refinances,
right,
what do you do?
Yeah.
And so it's creating...
What was that one stat you have? Do you have that right there? Again, that one you were telling me right before this, that was about the percentage of slowdown.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting to see, although I'd like to get back and see what it was like in January. But
yeah, I don't have that handy, though. Right?
That's okay. That's all right.
Okay, so in the Southwest, this was a company that I subscribed to, MBS Highway.
Yep.
Great company as far as the information they provide. And they did a survey of over 3,000 mortgage and real estate professionals around the country and trying to get a sense for kind of the pace of real estate, if you will. And so in the Southwest, they found that 29% of listings were being sold at a rapid rate, so pretty quickly in the first few days.
29%.
Yep.
Okay.
40% they would define as sort of a normal pace.
Yep.
And 31% be slower than what they've recently seen.
Got it. Okay. Got it. So I had to figure out a way to fit that in.
I was really hoping that you would find a way to put that sound effect in at least once.
I did. There you go.
So nationally, they put it at and rapid is defined by multiple offers. Normal is near asking price. And slower would be price reductions.
Got it.
Just from a definition standpoint. So nationally, it was 37% rapid, 40% normal, and 23% slower.
I mean, it almost feels a little balanced, except for, I mean, from the rapid and the slow. I mean, almost the same. And
yeah.
I'd be curious what it was before, but I mean, it's definitely, we obviously have definitely seen a slower side on our end, which is just, I think, made people who are, I mean, for me, the only thing that I've seen, buyers are actually been happy except for the fact of their interest rates.
Yep.
So here's a good question. Okay. Let's just take you have to do math real quick, but, and you can pick a different price point. Let's just say you have a $500,000 house.
Yep.
And you really want it, but you're like, man, the interest rates are, what are they at right now? 30-year fixed. I know, based perfect credit.
Let's just
great debt to income ratio.
Let's just call it, just for the sake of conversation, let's call it 6%.
Okay, 6%. Okay, and let's say 3 months ago they could have got that $500,000 house for 5%. What is that actually saving them on a monthly basis typically?
Right under $300 bucks a month.
$300 a month. But ideally, and this is my logic in it, and what I'm trying to help buyers understand is, okay, you get locked in that 6%. Ideally, you're going to pay less for that house today than you will from 2 years from now. So you pay that $300 a month for 12 months.
Yep.
For 2 more years, that's $7,000.
Yep.
Okay. The extra you had to pay because that 1% interest rate.
Yep.
But that $500,000 house, from the stats that we see based on supply and everything, that house is going to be worth at least 10 to 15% more, which then would put it at, let's just say it was a $40,000 increase. You're still, as far as numbers and numbers, doing better by buying at the 6%. And then, of course, we know interest rates aren't going to go to 20% and just keep rising. At some point, they're going to turn around.
Yep.
And then that's when you refinance.
Yeah, there's a few schools of thought on all this. I mean, we're having a lot of these conversations right now. So you have some people who are taking a strategy where they are paying more in fees to get a rate down.
Sure.
You have some people who are negotiating for that, where the seller is paying that.
Right.
Some people would say it's a really bad idea to spend more in fees to get a lower rate, because you're going to probably have an opportunity to refinance in the next couple of years.
Sure.
And then you got to look at things like, well, how long is this person expecting to own the home?
Yeah.
Or own or have the mortgage. And sometimes you've got people where like they really need to move to a certain area.
Yeah.
And the real pressure point for them is the monthly payment. So we've got to find a way to get them into a rate situation that allows them to afford the house. So there's lots of different, we really want to try to dig in and help people, or we want to understand what their needs are, and try to give them the best strategy, to line up with the reality of where we are and what their goals are. So, which
actually a good point. I think one of the things that, one of the reasons I wanted you to come on this is I think that you do a really good job of that. I've never seen. I don't think I've seen another mortgage company do this.
Okay, well, lay it on me, dude. Yes. What are we doing?
So I love the fact whenever I introduce you to some clients, you typically try and set up a Zoom meeting, or used to do in-person meetings.
Yep.
You probably do more Zoom now, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But just to like meet them face to face, and then you kind of give them not a million, but give them lots of different options for them to see, like, which like most lenders don't do that. It's literally like, put in your application, I'll give you a pre-approval letter. Done. Yeah, right. That's what they normally do.
Yep.
So that's obviously a huge part, I think, to the way you run your business, which obviously, I mean, I haven't had any clients complain about you.
Thank you.
And I've been working with you for now 3 or 4 years, but that's been a winner for you then, huh?
Yeah, the consultation is for us, it is really critical, I think, to the customer experience. And it's something that, it's been a while now, several years, maybe a decade ago, I started doing those in person. And then as technology has changed, we actually moved to doing a majority of our meetings over video pre-COVID. And so then when COVID hit, it was like super simple transition for us. But yeah, for me, it's usually, it's up around an hour if you're really just digging into making sure they understand the home buying process, making sure they understand where the potential bottlenecks are and kind of what we're doing about those. And then really trying to dig into the numbers and show them different, paths they can take. And really, at the end of the day, our goal is just to help educate people so that it just takes a lot of the anxiety away.
Well, and I think it's, and I bet you also probably have a little pushback from clients sometimes, because a lot of people are like, hey, I just want to get a pre-approval letter. I want to see what I can afford. I don't want this meeting. But I bet most like smart people are like, I want to know as much as I can about this process. And most lenders are probably the same as that client, going like, I just got to burn and turn. Like I got to get someone in, someone out, which again, my model's always been the same way. I don't want to burn and turn. I want to create long lasting relationships that are forever. So I think that's a great model that you do have. And you obviously have, you're fun to be around. You have a great culture. Speaking of fun to be around, the fish story. Just because this is it's my highlight of.
Do you have the picture?
We'll get it on this YouTube, but it's the highlight, I think, of my friendship with you, because it encompasses so much about who you are. And
I caught that fish.
You did.
Caught him good.
It was okay. So here's the deal. James and I were going fishing, fly fishing, and have you been fly fishing frequently, right?
Well, a handful of times.
Okay,
frequently pushing it.
And so New Braunfels, Guadalupe, right below Canyon Lake, has some good trout. They stock them. This was over Christmas time, or right beginning of January. I fished there a lot. Knew it really well, and I was like, I could take people up there, and like they're gonna catch fish. Like I know it's gonna happen.
It was like 28 degrees that morning, by the way. Yeah. Remember that?
Although we didn't catch fish till the evening, right?
Right, that's right.
Which usually you do catch them in the morning there, but anyway, and I called you like kind of on a whim. You said, all right, let's go do it. We go fishing, And when you're fishing, when you're fly fishing, for those who've never been, I mean, like you're moving the whole time. Like you're not sitting there just having a beer and holding the pole.
It's an active man sport, right?
You're just constantly moving that line back and forth, and you're trying to. I mean, you hadn't been a ton of times. You're trying to figure that out. The mending. Hey, James, you got to mend. Got to mend, James. Got to mend.
Right.
Never let the line get too far. Anyway, we ended up catching a few, and when you're catching them, you're in the water already. So then it's like. You want to get part of fly fishing is you don't really take the fish. I always have certain people that are always like, well, did you eat them? I was like, no, I didn't eat the fish, but they don't, that's what they picture. But in fly fishing, it's more of like, it's the journey.
It's an experience.
It's very artistic. It's very like you caught the fish. You want to gently hold them. You want them to feel like they never were caught and then put them back into their surroundings.
Not my fish.
Yeah.
He knew he was caught.
Yes. So, Here's what happens. We're fishing, but anyway, you get this you get the fish, and it even though it's 28 degrees, you don't want to be out of water too long because that's how they breathe. So you hold them, and then you pick them up real quick. You take your picture, and then you put them back down in the net. Okay, so we did this, and James is doing it. He hadn't really held a ton of rainbow trout.
Not a lot.
And when you pull them out of the water, they're super slimy. So that's like you're trying to hold them, but then. If you got to take a picture real quick, and if they jolt or jerk or flip or whatever, their slime just and it just could slip right out, and then you missed your whole picture. And you actually caught a couple good ones.
Yeah.
So we had taken the pictures, and nothing had, I didn't think anything of it. We get back to the truck, and I'm looking through our catches of the day, and I go to my fish, and it's just like a typical. I'm holding the fish like
your fish looked like it was going to take a nap.
You kind of learn when you fish, like when you've done it while how to hold the fish. It's like you can kind of feel, okay, is he going to move or not move? I don't know how to explain. It's like you have reflexes for it.
Yeah.
And so he was just kind of laying there. I took my picture, whatever, and my fish was my picture. And then I look
drowsy looking. Looked like maybe just got a massage, about to fall asleep.
He did look rather relaxed.
Yeah.
And then I scroll to the next picture, and James, and way you hold fish is you kind of take your front two fingers and you hold it around there kind of close to their neck, and the other one you hold in the back of their tail. James had gripped this fish, and you could see the impress of his fingers like pushing into the back of this fish, and the fish's mouth was like, like just. Like you were about to squeeze every bit of
my sausage fingers were going to squeeze that fish into submission, baby.
I mean, that fish looked like it was in pain. You were trying to squeeze. It was either constipated or it was in pain, man.
Please take the picture.
So we just put those two fish up beside each other. We'll do it on this video so you can see it. But
it was a good day. It was a lot of fun, actually.
Yes, it was. That was great. But those two fish together, man. And I wonder if they got back into the water or like, dude. You'll never believe the guy that picked me up. I mean, it was like we were about to go to the spa. We're gonna get to relax. He even fed me a little worm. Well, my guy, I thought I was dying at that moment by strangulation.
It was a very bad day.
Yes.
For that fish.
Anyway,
that was a lot of fun.
So going back to it, you're a fun guy, dude. Like it seems like it'd be very. I mean, I would get to work with you through the phone a lot, but I'm not like seeing you. But your office, everybody seems to love you. You've done a really great job with that office. You have a great culture, and I think everybody that's there has a culture. What would you say to people who are like running their own business, how to create a good culture?
That's a great question. First of all, I used to think, people talk about culture being important, and I was like, that's cute.
Right.
But when you've been in an office where the culture is not healthy, you become quickly convinced that there's a problem. And I'm really proud of the culture we have. As a leader, in an office, I think it's really important to recognize that it's really not about you. It's about how you're there to serve other people, right? And I think that's the first thing. And
you really take that to heart.
Yeah, that's why I'm there. That's
because there's a lot of people say that, but it isn't necessarily.
Yeah, that's really the only reason you're there.
Yeah,
to help other people do well at what they do.
Right.
And so that's the first thing I think. The second thing is you just got to have fun, and for me, I like to have fun, but I'm kind of a grinder. So I'm like, I want to have fun, but I'm just going to have fun working. I have fun working, and I'm hooting and hollering and doing my thing. And so you got to recognize that for me, I need to find people around me in the office who can
Do both.
do actual like, hey James, to make things fun, we're gonna do this thing over here. I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Oh, got it.
I'll just kind of grind all day long and think it's
Right.
a blast. And so you got to find people in the office that can help you remember to actually have fun
And keep your people.
keep everybody engaged.
Yeah.
So we just keep it loose, and everybody works really hard, and we just try to treat each other with respect, So
You mentioned too, like you helping someone go to the next level, that making someone better, taking a brand new LO or whoever, that's something you take joy. Any success tips on helping someone go from this level to the next level to the next level? Continue to help them grow.
I think that it's a good question as well. Ryan, you're really good at these questions. It's like you prepared.
I did a hair.
That's impressive. I think you've got to just be in regular communication with people. You've got to make sure to carve out some time to sit down with people and find out how they're doing, and kind of looking for, are they ready to grow in another area, and then call them up to kind of another level. And so just consistency and being involved is a big part of it. I coach almost everybody in my office that wants coaching gets coaching from me
Oh, cool.
a couple times a month. And so
how long does that consist of? Like when you meet with them?
It's an hour.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And usually there's a couple of people on the, kind of in the session.
Yeah.
But it allows me to stay very dialed into where people are at in terms of their development and where they're struggling. And if you're, again, process driven and focused on, the numbers and the data, you can begin to help people identify what's maybe off with their business, and then help them just objectively. If the numbers are telling you one thing or another, then you can help them grow and get better. So
cool. Awesome, man. Well, it's been great having you on here. Last
for having
part of the show is rapid fire. So I ask you a lot of different questions. You can give me one. So this first part will be one word answers. You can't give me more than one word. And then I'll give you an opportunity to answer with one phrase. All right, you ready?
yeah,
Work or play?
work,
Love or friendship?
friendship,
Money or happiness?
happiness,
Cats or dogs?
dogs.
Summer or winter?
Oh, it's a bad summer to ask that.
I know.
Winter,
Morning or evening?
morning,
Salty or sweet?
salty,
You shower at the night or in the morning?
morning,
Would you rather fly or have a super strength?
fly,
Physical or mental strength?
mental.
No, you get to pick whichever one you want. Like
Oh, physical.
you would like.
No, mental.
All right, you prefer driving or flying?
Driving.
Do you kill bugs inside or you take them outside?
Kill them.
Inside and then throw them
inside.
outside.
Inside,
Okay,
yeah.
got it. Would you rather have street smarts or book smarts?
Street smarts.
Would you rather travel to the past or to the future?
The future.
Fresh food or fried food?
Fresh.
Are you more cautious or bold?
Bold.
Do you cannonball into the pool or do you take a dip of your toe first before you get in?
Cannonball, baby.
You do? You never feel it?
I just get in.
I love it. I dip the toe.
Do you?
Yeah, unfortunately. All right. Do you have your own Netflix account or somebody else? You use somebody else's?
My wife's, so mine.
Okay, got it. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Not applicable. What's
Sweet
some
Child
Neil
of Mine?
Diamond? Neil Diamond. Give me a Neil Diamond.
Sweet Caroline?
Sweet. I'll do that one.
That's one of mine too.
That's a good one.
Do you have a spy code name?
A spy code name? Turbo.
I like it. What's been your favorite age so far?
My favorite age so far. Probably. I mean, right now it's pretty good, right? It depends on what for.
Favorite age, man.
I'm gonna go with today.
Okay, and then what's your favorite movie ever?
Saving Private Ryan.
Man, that's a depressing movie.
It's a great movie.
It is a great movie. Favorite Disney character?
I'm gonna go with Darth Vader.
Last one. Well, actually, second to last one. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Here's the last question. I give it to everybody. If time was no object, like you could go anywhere and be anywhere tomorrow, you could be there. And money was no object. And you had 24 hours. Where would you go? What would you do?
This is the phrase or the one-word answer?
No, you can just answer this question.
If I had no time limitation,
Correct.
No
money limitation.
Okay, and where would I go? Like,
where would you go? What would you do?
In present times.
In 24 hours, yes.
Oh, that's a fun question. So like it doesn't have to be like a future or past thing. Literally just right.
Yes,
now.
Just right now. I no time is no issue. You have no money issue. Tomorrow you're going to go 24 hours. What are you going to do?
Oh man, I'd probably go cruise around in Europe. I love Germany. I'd go back to Germany. I'd love to go to London. I've never been to London.
I love London.
Yeah, so I'd love to just go roam around, explore. I like historical stuff, old stuff.
Oh man,
it's cool. I love it.
I'm glad you like that. Enjoy that. All right.
That's kind of lame, dude. Look, you're talking to a mortgage guy, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
I should have. I should have
a fun mortgage guy.
I should have a way more cool answer than that.
That should be your new logo.
The fun mortgage.
The
guy.
fun mortgage guy. I like it.
Ooh.
All right. Well, hey, James, thanks for joining us once again. If you want to find James, he is on Facebook at the Beaver Team or Instagram at James Beaver Mortgages. You haven't hit TikTok up yet?
Not yet.
That's okay.
Are you a TikTok guy?
Kinda. I don't want to be, but that's where the industry is going. But yes.
I can't stand it.
Thanks again, James.
Hey, thanks for having me, buddy.
Thank you to all our listeners for joining. Please make sure and take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you are watching this on YouTube, would you please be honored to leave us a review? Leave a comment in there if you have any questions you have. If you're checking it out on Apple, Spotify, leave us a review. We'd love that. And we will see you next time on The Closing Table.
The Closing Table, right?
That's right. Thanks, guys.